The middle class wasn't a coincidence. It was built using money principles that no one ever taught you. Not in school, not at home, and definitely not at work. This video reveals the financial literacy secrets that built real wealth and why they were kept out of reach for most people. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right but still falling behind, this will explain why. Welcome to Trip2Wealth. Today we're breaking down 10 financial literacy secrets that built the middle class and why you were never taught them. Subscribe to the channel and let's get into it. Let's kick things off with the first secret, one that changed everything: how credit went from a tool to a trap. Credit wasn't always a marketing gimmick. It was once the cornerstone of upward mobility. When used correctly, credit builds leverage, the ability to access things now in exchange for smart, manageable repayment later. But somewhere along the way, credit shifted from a tool to a toy, and people got burned. Let's be real. Nobody taught us what credit actually was. They told us to build it, but not how. They told us to protect it, but not why. The truth: credit isn't about affording what you can't afford. It's about proving financial trustworthiness, so you can borrow less and grow more. The middle class rose by using credit to buy homes, start businesses, and fund education. But too many people today are stuck using it for survival: groceries, gas, emergencies, and then getting punished for it. It's like being handed a Ferrari with no instructions. You'll burn the engine before you hit the highway. The shift? Learn to control credit like a tool. Keep your usage low, pay on time, avoid toxic debt, and don't chase points. Chase progress. The goal isn't a higher limit. The goal is freedom. Now that you understand credit's original purpose, let's move on to the next money truth buried under generations of silence. And this one hits deep. Because real financial literacy doesn't begin with budgeting apps or interest rates. It begins by confronting what was deliberately withheld: the civil rights issue of our time. There's a quote from John Hope Bryant that hits like truth through a megaphone. You cannot have social justice without economic justice. And that's the second secret, one most people never even consider. Financial literacy is the civil rights issue of our generation. Think about it. Every major shift in power, from land rights to voting rights, was always tied to economics. But while laws changed, the systems didn't. Millions of people still grow up without access to basic financial tools, generational capital, or even the language of money. It's not just unfair, it's by design. You weren't taught how money works not because it's hard, but because knowing how it works would make you powerful. Financial literacy isn't a nice-to-have, it's survival. It's the difference between being stuck in cycles or breaking them. It's knowing how to protect your credit, negotiate your salary, build assets, and leave something behind besides debt. The middle class didn't rise by luck. It rose through home ownership, small business creation, community banks, and financial ecosystems that were largely closed off to others. Until now. So the next time someone says, "Just work harder," ask them how hard it is to outrun a system you were never allowed to study. Moving forward, let's look at what broke and how capitalism became anything but equal for the people who needed it most. Capitalism, at its best, rewards innovation, risk, and contribution. But in reality, what we have today isn't broken capitalism. It's selective capitalism, one that rewards those already in the system while sidelining millions who never got a fair starting point. Here's what most people don't realize. After the Great Depression, government programs like the GI Bill, FHA home loans, and banking protections helped millions of white families build middle-class wealth. Home ownership exploded. Credit expanded. Capital flowed. But black and brown communities largely excluded, denied loans, redlined, undervalued. The result? An entire population never got a seat at the table. And what's worse, these same communities were then blamed for not getting ahead. as if hustle alone could outpace policy. This is the third financial literacy secret that built the middle class: access. Access to fair lending, to jobs, to investment opportunities, the kind of access many families today still fight for. But here's where hope enters. Awareness is power, and understanding the historical playbook helps you rewrite your own. The rules were hidden, but they're not gone, and you're about to learn them. Let's move to the next core truth, one that reveals why so many people feel stuck. The American dream was never denied. It was just deferred, and for some, permanently postponed. The American dream was supposed to be simple: work hard, play fair, and life would reward you. But for millions, that promise has faded. Not because they didn't try, but because the rules changed behind the scenes, and no one told them. The fourth key insight in financial literacy secrets you were never taught is this: the dream was real, but access to it was not. While one generation built equity through stable jobs and home ownership, the next faced rising costs, stagnant wages, and a financial system that became more confusing, not clearer. It's like being handed a board game with half the instructions missing. You keep rolling the dice but never move forward. Today, many families are renting homes they can't afford to buy, drowning in student debt for degrees that don't guarantee income, clocking into jobs that barely cover the basics. This isn't failure. It's a system that rewarded one class while exhausting the rest. But here's the shift. You don't need to chase the old American dream. You can build a new one, with knowledge, with intention, with the tools that were hidden from you. And speaking of tools, that's what I'm working on now. I'm building a Google Sheets command center, something simple but powerful. It tracks your net worth, investments, income, cash flow, spending, and compounding, all in one place. The early access waitlist is below. It's affordable, on purpose. Now let's talk about the real education most people never got: how money is taught, and who gets to learn it. If you've ever felt behind in life, like you missed a class on how to manage money, that's not your fault. Most of us were taught how to take tests, memorize facts, maybe even do calculus. But no one showed us how to write a budget, manage credit, or build wealth. That silence wasn't accidental, it was systemic. And that's the fifth financial literacy secret behind the rise of the middle class. Education wasn't just about knowledge, it was access. In the past, schools in more affluent areas taught practical money skills. They had programs, guest speakers, financial advisors visiting classrooms. Meanwhile, underfunded schools taught survival, not success. But here's what's wild. The same people left out of financial education are the ones expected to bootstrap their way to the top. It's a cruel joke, and it's left generations feeling like they're failing when they were just never given the tools. Education isn't just for kids, it's for entrepreneurs, for families, for entire communities that want to rise together. The new middle class will be built not by accident, but by intention. Let's move forward to the next secret, and it's a powerful one. Because while most people fear money, those who master it treat it like an asset class of its own. Here's a quote that reframes everything. Credit is more than a number. It's your permission slip to participate in the economy. That's the sixth truth in financial literacy secrets that built the middle class, and you were never taught. And the reality is, credit has quietly become one of the most powerful forms of leverage in the modern world. It determines whether you get approved for a mortgage, whether you pay 3% interest or 30%, whether you build wealth through home ownership or stay trapped in renting. But no one tells you this growing up. In fact, most people learn about credit the hard way, after a few late payments, a closed account, or a rejected loan. And by then, rebuilding it feels impossible. But here's the shift. Your credit score is just a reflection of behavior. It's not emotional. It's not biased. It doesn't care how you feel. It reflects how you manage, and that's powerful because it means you can fix it, improve it, and eventually use it to grow. When middle-class families used credit wisely, they built legacies. They didn't overspend, they optimized. You can do the same. Now that we've explored the mechanics of credit, let's shift to one of the most overlooked wealth-building moves, forming a money team, and why you shouldn't go at it alone. There's a dangerous lie in financial culture that you're supposed to figure it all out alone. DIY your way to wealth. Read every blog, watch every video, and somehow avoid mistakes. But here's the seventh truth, and it's a game changer. Wealth is a team sport, and if you're playing solo, you're limiting your potential. Think about the middle class at its peak. Families had trusted bankers, community advisors, union reps, and local financial mentors. They didn't rely solely on Google. They relied on guidance, real conversations with people who understood money, taxes, credit, and strategy. The rich don't guess. They delegate, they ask questions, they surround themselves with experts, and they don't feel ashamed for not knowing. They feel empowered by learning. Your money team doesn't need to be massive. It could start with a tax professional who saves you thousands, a coach who helps you set goals, a mentor who tells you the truth when you're off track. You don't need all the answers. You need better questions and the right people to help you ask them. So stop trying to solve the money maze blindfolded. Find someone who's walked the path and ask how they got there. Now let's talk about the eighth secret, a big one. Because this isn't just about earning more or saving more. It's about the real reason money matters: legacy. There's a powerful quote from Maya Angelou. If you're going to live, leave a legacy. Make a mark on the world that can't be erased. And that brings us to the eighth truth behind financial literacy. Most people chase income. The wealthy build a legacy. Legacy isn't just about money, it's about meaning. It's what happens when your financial decisions impact people long after you're gone. A child who doesn't inherit debt, a scholarship in your name, a house that gets passed down, a blueprint that outlives your timeline. Middle-class families who built real wealth didn't just think about the month, they thought about the next generation. Wills, trusts, beneficiaries, life insurance. These aren't for rich people, they're for responsible people. And yet so few of us are taught to think this way. Why? Because legacy shifts your mindset from survival to structure, from now to next. And when you start thinking generationally, you make different decisions today. You begin asking, what can I build that lasts? Instead of, how do I just get by this week? Legacy starts with clarity. What do you want to leave behind? And how can your money reflect your values? Now let's look at the movement behind this knowledge and how financial literacy is quietly becoming a revolution. Financial literacy isn't trending, it's transforming. What used to be a quiet conversation at kitchen tables is now becoming a national dialogue, but it's still uneven. And that's the ninth secret. True wealth movements don't go viral. They go deep. When John Hope Bryant says financial literacy for all, he means everyone. Not just Wall Street interns, not just real estate investors, but teachers, mechanics, single moms, first-generation college students, immigrants, entrepreneurs, retirees, every background, every zip code. Why? Because money doesn't discriminate, but access to money knowledge often does, and movements fix that. They spread tools, not just tips. They focus on systems, not just success stories. This moment we're in, the era of podcasts, dashboards, digital banking, index funds, it's fertile ground. But without real education, it becomes noise. That's why you're here. Because you want substance, not fluff. When enough people learn how money really works, not how they were told it works, generational change begins. One family at a time. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to care enough to learn and bold enough to share. Let's close with the final piece, the ladder that brings everything together no matter where you're starting from. The 10th and final truth is this: there's a ladder, and you can climb it. No matter your background, income, age, or mistakes, there's a path to financial freedom. But the rungs were hidden from you, until now. What makes a ladder powerful isn't how fast you climb it. It's that it's solid, stable, repeatable. That's what this video has laid out. The steps real people took to build real financial lives: credit control, financial justice, access, education, leverage, legacy, teamwork, intention. And now it's your turn. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need a six-figure job. You need clarity, consistency, and the courage to keep going, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. Today, you've learned the 10 financial literacy secrets that built the middle class, and more importantly, why they were never taught to most people. These weren't just facts. They were frameworks. Credit is a tool. Literacy is justice. Access is everything. The American dream wasn't broken, it was delayed. But now you've got the roadmap. Start by fixing your credit behavior. Learn what was withheld. Understand where the system went wrong. Educate your family. Track your net worth. Build your team. Plan your legacy. And keep climbing. This isn't about overnight success. It's about daily direction. Pick one action from this video and implement it this week. Write down your income. Automate your savings. Read your credit report. Ask someone smarter than you a money question. That's how movements grow, one brave learner at a time. If you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. I appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.